Hi, I'm Steve Gaynor. I'm the co-founder of the Fulbright Company. We made Gone Home. I was the writer and designer, and thank you for taking a look at our commentary mode. Whenever you find an icon like the one you just clicked on, you can find out a little bit more about the game. I want to thank everybody who's added commentary. Janman and Carla, my co-founders of the company, Kate Craig, our 3D artist, Chris Rimo, our composer, Sarah Grayson, the voice of Sam Greenbrier, and Koren Tucker, the lead singer of Heavens to Betsy and Slater Kinney and other awesome bands. So thank you, everybody, and enjoy commentary mode. So, Christmas Duck. Christmas Duck is a fan favorite. He's kind of a mascot, I guess, and I think that's partly because it's a weird concept, a Christmas duck, and partly because it's like the first unique thing that you encounter in the game. It's kind of personified. He's like a little character. But the thing is, Christmas Duck was not planned. When we were starting the project, we didn't have a 3D modeler because Kate came on a couple months after we started, and we needed a bunch of 3D models. And so I was just going through the Unity asset store. So I was going through the list and saw this Christmas duck, and I was like, "What is that?" Okay, and I grabbed it, and we used it as like a test object just to set up the system where you can grab stuff and carry it around. And then I ended up saying, all right, we got this Christmas duck, I'll hide the key under it. And instead of replacing the free model with a totally different thing, just made a real version of it. And Carla modeled it, and Kate textured it, and we kept him in the game. And we're glad, because he's everybody's little friend. Good old Christmas duck. Yeah, the biggest purpose of the card was, to say, oh, Sam is 17, if you look for this thing. But there's so much, we need so much handwriting in the game, especially for like one-off characters that you don't see their handwriting more than once. And we knew we needed a birthday card from some member of Sam's more extended family that you were never going to hear from again. And so I was like, okay, it could be her uncle. And as an Easter egg, kind of like wink and nod thing, like, we're fans of, the Looking Glass legacy of games and Deus Ex and Dishonored, and so I got in contact with Harvey Smith, who is the lead designer of Deus Ex and the co-creative lead of Dishonored, and asked if he would just write on a piece of paper, "Happy Birthday, Sam," from Uncle Harvey, and he just took a picture with his cell phone. And
like 5 minutes after you asked him. It was amazing. He was just like, "Yes, I will do this immediately."
Yeah.
It was the best.
I think, he took a picture with his cell phone, and it was really cool. Harvey's a great guy, and I love his games, and we're, super honored to have his signature in the hub of the Greenbrier house.
Hell yeah.
The Goodfellow High School jacket and the logo generally is a reference to the logo for Minerva's Den, the section of Rapture that DLC takes place in, that we worked on together. But we didn't want to make it look exactly like the owl logo from that game. We wanted it to be, an homage or a reference or whatever.
Yeah, so we decided that since this is a Pacific Northwest school and town and setting, that we would go for some native style representation. And let's see.
Well, actually, we were struggling with it for a little while, because we wanted. At first, I was saying, just make it look like a very, 90s looking school mascot logo illustration that's just cheap, that maybe one of the students did or something, and the direction wasn't good enough, and we didn't really have a good enough example to work from. And then Kate actually came to visit.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And she suggested, what if it's like a Pacific Northwest Native American style approach, and that really just clicked and made total sense.
Hello, my name is Kate Craig, and I was creating a lot of the environment assets for the game. Not all of them, some of them I had help with, which I'll touch on a little later, but most of the stuff like the walls and the floors, some of the larger pieces of furniture were my doing, and I'm going to be talking about some of the environmental storytelling aspects in Gone Home. I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't mention the work that my wife Emily Carroll did on the project. She did the house title image that we've used for our wallpapers and for the start screen of the game. She did the loading cassette tape, and she did the maps in the house. And actually, Carla made a font out of her handwriting because we wanted something that was just a little bit spooky, maybe a little ominous, but something that sort of suited the tone of the game. And I was really glad to be working with her, and I was really glad that the other guys were too. We had a really good time. And people have responded quite positively to her title screen, which is something that I really appreciate, and I know she does too.
Oh man, mom handwriting. We went through a lot of different moms for handwriting. A lot of different moms contributed handwriting for him. At first, let's see, how did we do? What were we doing first? I think I just did it, and it wasn't great. And then we had Emily do it, but her handwriting was used so heavily in other parts of the game that we had to find someone else. And I think we actually had Yanaman try to do it for a while before he was Dad's handwriting. And then we got Yanaman's mom, and she was ideal for it. Really good mom handwriting. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Chris Rima, the composer on Gone Home. In my commentary tracks, I'm going to be talking a little bit about what went into creating the original music soundtrack for the game. Gone Home is an unusual game, musically speaking, in that it consists of two distinct music soundtracks. The one of those probably more frequently commented on is the collection of licensed Riot Girl songs that the player finds in Sam's cassette tapes strewn around the house. The other one is the original music that accompanies the player's undirected exploration of the house and underscores almost every one of Sam's audio diary recordings. When Steve first asked me to do music for Gone Home, I was really excited about it, but there are almost no parameters for what that meant in terms of format or scope. Having played an early build of the game, I started by just doing a few musical sketches with no real regard for length or usage, mainly consisting of vintage electric piano sounds like Wurlitzers and Fender Rhodes. I chose those instruments because I wanted sounds that would feel at home in the era of the game. The Twin Peaks soundtrack used a lot of Rhodes, for example, but would also blend into the background and not share much tone in common with the abrasive Riot Girl guitars. Some of the instrumentation and ideas changed from those first sketches, but they also contained one of the main themes that ended up accompanying Sam's arc throughout the final game.
This is where you find the first half of Sam's Locker, or I guess it's actually the second half of Sam's Locker combo as far as what the piece of paper is. But at first, there were the locker combination sheet was torn into three pieces. So you had one digit on each of them, and it was actually right before we sent out our IGF build to the judges. It was the night before, and Carla came down to the basement, and she was like, at 3 o'clock in the morning last night, I woke up in bed just being like, oh, we can't have it in three pieces, that's way too gamey. Well, that's bad, we have to fix that. And
I forgot about that.
And you were absolutely right. And you've had a couple of those being woken up by us making a bad decision kind of moments over the course of the development, and they were always important changes that needed to be made.
Hi, this is Koren Tucker from Heavens to Betsy. And Heavens to Betsy was a band that formed in 1991, actually. And I actually got the idea for joining a band when I moved to Olympia, Washington, and became a fan of the music scene there. And it seemed like everyone was in a band. So I decided I was going to start a band too. But I didn't actually start the band until I went home after the first year of college. I went back to Eugene, Oregon, and my high school friend Tracy Sawyer and I started playing music together, and that was the beginning of Heavens to Betsy. so I had told, with my big mouth, I had told all my friends that I was going to start a band. And the summer of, I think it was 1991, my friend Michelle Noel booked the International Pop Underground in Olympia, Washington. And she helped organize a night at the convention called Girl Night. And it was all women musicians. So she called me and said, hey, let's get you on stage with that, you want to play the show that I'm organizing. This totally new band that had never performed before. I mean, we had never performed ever any kind of music. Got invited to play this big show at the Capitol Theater in Olympia in front of all of our musical heroes, right? Everyone from K Records, all of Fugazi was there, all of Bikini Kill was there. This music that I was a huge fan of suddenly. That was our very first show, the very first Heavens to Betsy show. And we were terrified, but we did it, and people loved it, and it was, it changed my life forever that night.
So here's one of Dad's pulpy JFK books. He's now moved on from primary sources to theories about how JFK was killed. However, this one purports to contain the truth. The publishing company is a doofy inside joke because, there's Harcourt Brace, the publisher that exists, and so I was trying to think of a good name for a publisher, and being a big nerd, I immediately thought of Harcourt Fenton Mudd and how he basically sounds like a publishing company, so...
You have to say who that is.
No! Alright, fine. He's an awful character from
Star Trek.
Original Star Trek, which is called Mudd's Women, and also there's another one whose name an episode I can't remember for some reason.
I'm Mudd.
Fuck, yes, okay. Thank you.
It's a Star Trek reference. You did it, Carla.
What?
The doors were actually one of the hardest things in the game to get working correctly, and I know that there's still some bugs existing with the doors, actually. But it's a surprisingly hard problem, which is why most video games just have doors that kind of slide away into nothingness or open in strange ways or don't, let you interact fully with doors. But of course, it's in a house like in Gone Home, a realistic house. It's important that everything be as natural as possible. The one concession we made to video gaminess is that the doors all swing both ways, which never happens in a real house, but it's necessary to prevent the player trapping themselves in some strange state.
Here we have Fresh Magazine, which is a synthesis and pastiche of Sassy Magazine, which if you haven't looked at it, or if it wasn't, something that you cared about in the early 90s. It was very feminist and, strongly individualist and actually gave good advice. It was actually really good. Anyway, so yeah, this is the type treatment, the super grungy type treatment is totally indicative. That's how it used to be. Oh yeah, and amusingly, of course, our cover model is Rachel, Steve's wife. I had to make her put on this awful light pink lipstick and do the 90s-ist stuff imaginable. And she did it.
It was your idea to put a braid in the front of her bangs?
Yes.
Yeah, it seems like... Congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
Inside of this file folder, you find the first combination code in the game. This code goes to Dad's locked filing cabinet, and it's 0451, which is a bit of a tradition / in-joke amongst... I mean, it's not really an in-joke, it's just an internal reference amongst this lineage of games that hark back to immersive sims that are kind of first-person exploration games that started with Ultima Underworld and System Shock, And 451 was the first key code in System Shock, and then it was also the first key code in System Shock 2 and Deus Ex and BioShock and most recently Dishonored. And yeah, I've personally worked on a couple of games that had 0451 as the first code in them, and we were really adherent to the tenets of the interactive model and kind of the principles of design behind those games when we were designing how Gone Home works. And so to maintain that tradition, we also made it the first code in our game.
And you made it the tattoo on your arm.
I also got a tattoo of 0451 because it is sort of a symbol of this certain philosophy of game design that's important to me. And yeah, this writing, Breaking Canon, is in Emily's handwriting. Emily's handwriting is technically only in the font that exists outside the game. She doesn't actually do the handwriting in any of the characters, but yeah, I had her write 0451 in her very distinctive handwriting, and then I got a tattoo of it and figured I would use that source image as the image that you find on the inside of this folder here. One of our favorite movies is The Apartment, which was directed by Billy Wilder, and it starred Shirley MacLaine and Jack Lemmon, and it's from like 1960, and it's basically what Mad Men is, except actually from that time.
Yeah.
It's super good, and there's this weird, like, kind of humorous vocal tick that some of the executives in the movie have, where they will refer to something like, they'll say like, "We're doing quite well dividends-wise," or something, and Shirley MacLaine's character is named, her last name is Kubelik, and one of the executives at different times says something like, "So how are you getting along, Kubelik-wise?" So anyway, super deeply buried Easter egg reference in joke. We made the law firm Kubelik and Wise that prepared Oscar's will, just as a little wink and nod, a little Harcourt Fenton.
Quite Steve.
But yeah, The Apartment, you should watch it.
It's damn worth it. It's totally worth your time. It's a really good movie.
On Laserdisc.
Yeah.